I wanted to show you guys these clubs I got. Some of you know them, some of you don't. Don't mind the background, there's a lot of books going on there. We can even light that up. When's the last time, and don't mind this blue rag, the grips were in the sun a little bit too long? The story goes, a gentleman passed away. Now, that's unfortunate, but I spoke to his granddaughter, which is how I know the story. And he lived a rich and amazing life, she said. In the pile of stuff that was out on the front lawn that she unfortunately had to dig through to give away was a lot of projection equipment, you know, like those carousels that everybody had in the 70s. I remember them from the 80s because I'm an 80s kid. A bowling ball, which was even in its bag. Look at this thing. Talk about Laverne and Shirley, right? Look at that. It's a bowling ball. Inside its bowling bag. And I thought this was the coolest thing. Anybody remember Kingpin? Look at this. They actually, it's a real thing. I didn't know that. Now, unfortunately, well, let me show you this too. This is what I was getting at. I never knew this. But inside of these bags, there is a rack where you can place the ball so it won't, well, I'm sure it's to protect the ball. I mean, it wouldn't roll away because it's a flat case. I don't know exactly why the manufacturer made it, but we love that. I mean, how cool is that? They don't make stuff like this anymore. And as I was saying, the ball itself is too small for my fingers. The holes are too small for my fingers. You know, we all have to deal with the 3 holes, the thumb hole. I don't know. For people who have never bowled, this is how it goes. And you put your middle finger in the bigger hole and your ring finger in the smaller hole. And then you set it up for your big strike. And I can't bowl because I'm in my kitchen right now, but this thing has got some wear to it. Columbia 300. SKU number 6U5876. I don't know if there's anything to be looked up with bowling balls. Somebody used this a lot though. There are little pads, if you can see them. Yeah, you can. That somebody actually glued into the ball to make it just like a ring sizer. So somebody really loved this ball and used it quite often. You can see, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there are little scratches all over it, which means it was highly, highly used. But again, it's got its own little rag to wipe it off and keep it clean. Hey, for those of you who have been bowling your whole lives and you're going, well, that's obvious, Jerry. It's obvious to you, not me. So it's got its little home. I'm actually looking to move that. I'm not advertising it here. I'm just telling you what's going on with it. It's never going to be used by me because, again, the ball, the holes are too small. But check out the bag. Somebody would love that. Somebody who's doing the Peggy Sue thing, the rockabilly thing. I lived out in LA for, I don't know, about 10 years, 8 years maybe. And there's a huge rockabilly scene out there, which was really cool. I mean, they would go all the way with it. And they would go to certain bars that had rockabilly nights. And they would do, they would do dancing. You know, they were in their 505 classics with the cuffs rolled up. T-shirts with the cigarettes in the arm. I think it's in the bicep. Hair slicked back like, hey, mama. What was his name? Oh, I'm trying to think of the cartoon character. Hey, mama. Well, anyway. Back to the Elvis days. But this was also, these clubs were, let's see how many you can see with that. Just trying to go wide so I can give you guys a little song and dance. These clubs were all in the lawn as well. Just in a free bunch. And I always, if it's free, it's for me. I don't know about you guys, but if somebody's giving something away, I will certainly take it. I'll jump on it and see what I can do with it. I mean, in my experience, there is always a buyer. It's like the eBay thing. There's a buyer out there somewhere for absolutely everything that you own. It just depends on if you want to sell it, how much you're willing to take for it, because remember, these are auctions, and do you have the patience to deal with the communication back and forth between you and the possible buyer, and the patience to deal with the shipping, albeit either the cost or the actual prepping and boxing of the item or the insurance or anything else. Not that it's the end of the world, but if you have multiple items being sold and hopefully being bid on and won by people out there, then you have multiple things to box up and ship. And again, and just this is my channel, so my experience has been that it gets a little bit overwhelming at times. But you're doing it to make a buck, right? So, I mean, the best thing I ever found while we were cleaning out the house and sold on eBay was I get this wrong every time, but it's a Herman Miller, Henry Eames, or Henry Miller, Herman Miller, Henry Eames chair and ottoman set that were in near mint condition. I did my due diligence, as in research, because when I first posted them, I didn't know what they were. That is until I started getting bids of thousands of dollars from right out the gate. So I said to myself, well, you might really have some gold here, so to speak, which it turns out I did. Because again, I got the chair and the ottoman for nothing. No money, zero money. I was actually helping by taking it out of the house that was going to be demolished. We were there to remove 2 film projectors as well, which we did. It was a very good friend of mine and myself. And as I was wandering around this basement where those film projectors were, I just noticed this chair and ottoman set and thought, hey, I'd really like those. But in the back of my mind, I don't know if it was an Antiques Roadshow episode or some other episode of some other television show where I saw them. And I said to myself, that set is worth something. Well, the long and the short is it was worth $4,000. $4,000 for free. Now, many of you have done much better than that. Many of you have done much worse than that. But at the time, that $4,000 might as well have been $400,000. I was working, I was making good money, but still, to find $4,000 at that time just from thin air was pretty much a godsend. So, but getting back to it, I'm a guy that does my research, because once I realized how important in the world of collectible furniture and or antiques or vintage items is, you really need to be on the up and up. You need to be honest, and you need to know what it is that you're selling, in and out. Not just, oh, it's a chair and ottoman from a certain era, say mid-century or something like that. That is highly sought after. You need to know more than that. So I ended up, the luck of the draw had it that this thing was probably purchased and put in that basement and nowhere else, because it still had the stickers on the bottom of it, under the seat. You know, I'm going to use this one as a under the seat. There are probably numbers on here too. There are December 1970, and I can't see the next word. And then there's some crayon scribbling from when I was a child. These are Hitchcock chairs that have been in the family for years now. But they're going to be markings telling you, well, specific information about the item. Because there's nowhere else to put it, right? So what I'm calling the SKU number was still on the sticker on the bottom of the chair and the ottoman. Number one, I knew they matched. Number two, I could look them up and do a web search for that number and see what it brought up. Now, I don't think it brought up the exact set, but it did bring up the company. And the company was still in business, and the company was still making those sets. So remember, mine was vintage, but they are still making them new to this very day. So that was a big eye-opener, because when I lived in Hollywood, and I'm not jumping topics here, I'm using this, so stick with me. At one point, I was a locations manager, which meant that I found locations for our little show, the Nick Cannon Show, very early inception of the Nick Cannon Show. Locations for us to shoot at, and I would have to get permits for a lot of these places via City Hall. So I've become accustomed to speaking to, let's say, the inner workings of City Hall or any business for that matter. So knowing the business of Herman Miller, I believe it's Herman Miller, Henry Eames. Herman Miller was still open and cranking out furniture as this was back in 2012, maybe. I almost said 13, somewhere thereabouts. It's now 2024. I believe this is going to be recorded. So I got in contact with the company. Now, the crazy thing is, the auction was almost up or finished when I figured all of this stuff out. I believe the auction ran for 2 weeks, maybe 3. But when I found out all of this information was very close to the end, days away from the conclusion of this auction. And when I spoke to the woman, who was polite enough to speak with me at Herman Miller, she explained that she knows exactly who I need to speak to, one of her employees, that is very knowledgeable about all of the vintage and antique stuff. The only problem is, she and I were speaking on a Friday. He was already gone for the weekend for like a weekend trip or a vacation. This was during the summer. And it took the wind out of my sails a little bit, only because I was trying to verify that this chair was exactly what I was advertising it as. Again, I'm trying to be on the up and up here and be, as they say, transparent about any items that I'm auctioning, anything that I'm selling, so that I have happy buyers. Okay? Happy buyers write you great reviews. Great reviews are what I look for when I'm the buyer. Okay? I want to hear what real people say, because real people, you guys out there, will be nasty if they have a bad interaction with someone, because I wrote up a car rental place one time, and I mean paragraph after paragraph. And I've written up restaurants, and I've written up a couple of other businesses. I forget what they are now, but I know there were 4 or 5 that I really dug into because I was pissed off as a customer. Now you may think, well, you're being a Karen by doing that. Other people going to Google Maps loved my reviews so much, little as they are, few as they are, that I'm one of the top content providers for Google Maps. For Google Maps, mind you, it's not for social media in this way, but for contributing to Google Maps reviews. Something like over 200,000 views. I only have very safely under 100 reviews. Under 50, I would say, probably something more like 25 or 30. So to have 200,000 plus views and likes, I forget how it went. The last time I checked, it was about 180,000 views, and the likes were somewhere around 200,000. I forget exactly where it went, but that was already 2 years ago. And the rate it was moving, it skyrocketed. I tried to make some money out of that. I tried to talk to some people when I was doing the delivery gig thing, being a gig worker, which we'll get into a little bit more later on. But I tried offering people a good review for a couple of bucks, an honest review, mind you. I wasn't selling reviews, but I was offering them a place on my contribution list. I don't know how you refer to that if you're talking Google Maps, because it's not my channel. It's not a channel. But anyway, I couldn't seem to word it quite right. I couldn't sell it, which is a little embarrassing because I can sell Eskimos, but I just didn't attack it enough. So there must have been something else going on that took my attention from that, or else we would have made it happen. Because if that's all you've got going on, you're gonna make it happen, right? That's called staying hungry. All right. So around Sunday afternoon, that very same weekend, remember I was speaking to the woman. She said the guy that works for her still is away on vacation, but he would be the one to talk to because he knows all about the vintage items, such as the one I have, which I have now found out through those stickers again on the bottom of the chair was from circa 1983. I found out what type of wood it was. Or maybe I'm jumping the gun. Let me get to the gentleman here. Because my phone rings that Sunday afternoon. Thankfully, I pick it up. It's not a number I recognized, but I picked it up for some reason. And it was the guy. The guy took his time out of his vacation to call me, a complete and utter stranger, to explain to me what I had, because I had explained my situation so well to his coworker and had obviously shown real caring about the situation, that this gentleman took his time out from his vacation to call me. And we had a wonderful conversation. I was at work, as I remember. I don't remember what job it was, but I remember I was at work because I said, I have to take this. Have to. Excuse me. I don't care if you fire me right now. See, I'm getting worked up by it right now. If I'm going to sell something to somebody for top dollar, I want to know that my product is a good and a strong product. He is the one that got me because he understood what it was, the color it was, so he understood what wood it might be made out of. And after that, I could check with the sticker to see if what he said, not if, but to verify which direction. You know, because chairs could be made out of pine or teak or oak. This was Brazilian rosewood. The yellow-green mustard color. I mean, this thing screams 1974, which is awesome. That's the year I was born. The only other thing it could have had on it were those vinyl flower-looking things that you'd see in the bottom of bathtubs, so you wouldn't slip and fall down. You know what I'm talking about, those stickers. So he said, you know, of all the chair and ottoman sets to find, you found the Holy Grail. You found the set. And that it's in near perfect condition, you could probably sell it for thousands more. I wouldn't even go that direction. I said, well, somebody just won the auction, or they're about to win the auction for $4,000. There are 4 or 5 other competitors that are around $3,800, and they're creeping up and they're trying to just do that game thing. But he's been on top the whole time, so I have a feeling he's going to win the auction. He said, well, he'll be very happy to have it then. It sounds like he knows what he's talking about, because you, again, have found the Holy Grail of Herman Miller Henry Eames chairs. E-A-M-E-S. Eames is what I'm saying. I hear me swallowing it too. This is my first live video. So I hope you guys are entertained so far. These stories that I'm going to be telling you are all true. I'm going to, I'm a human being, so I'm going to forget some things and add them later, and then maybe take things away later when I remember that I've added something that wasn't true. But I don't lie. I don't make things up, because I don't really have the patience to bother to remember things like that anymore. And quite frankly and humbly, I say, I've had a wonderful life. I lived my life full throttle for at least 3 decades. 30 years of just, okay, let's do it. My not nickname, but my moniker was Do It. Setiwa said that to me, a friend's wife. She's like, that's what you say to everybody, do it. I said, yeah. Well, everyone talks a lot about everything, and then they don't follow through or follow up on it. Do it. Not Nike. Nike has just do it. Mine is simplified. Do it. Do it. Start a YouTube channel. Okay. Do it. Get enough time or subscribers that you can go live. Okay. Do it. So anyway, the chair sold. The gentleman was happy, I was happy, and I offered to deliver it to him once I realized that he lived in New York. I live in Massachusetts myself. It's a 4-hour drive to Manhattan. I had done it hundreds of times for a show I worked on. So I knew it well. I knew it easily. Saying that incorrectly, but I knew it was going to be an easy drive. I grabbed the girlfriend's Subaru station wagon. A buddy of mine, just to have company along the ride, which I shouldn't have brought, afterthought-wise. But I figured I'd get him out of the house. He was in need of a separation from his home for a little while there, just for his mental happiness and his mental health. And then he drove me nuts. But, I guess I shouldn't complain, because I was trying to help him in the first place. Anyway, the gentleman who won the auction paid me a couple $100 more cash to hand deliver it. So 4 hours later, it was in Manhattan, and I was helping him carry it up to his very well appointed, I guess you'd call it a condominium. And I could tell right away that this was not the most expensive thing this gentleman had. He was decorating the interior of his living space, and he wanted all of the best. And I'm glad, so glad, that I knew that I found that out, because I didn't want that chair going to some house where it was going to get beat up or ripped. This thing is a time capsule. That's how good of condition it was in. I would have loved to have kept it. And aforementioned girlfriend said the very same thing. She says, well, we'll just keep it. We actually were renting a little house in a very affluent town in our neighborhood in Massachusetts. I grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, which is only 15 minutes up the Massachusetts Turnpike, or the highway, out of Boston. Everyone knows where Boston is, Fenway Park. Well, I grew up in suburbia right outside of Boston. Not on the other side of Massachusetts, but right outside of Boston. So to me, I call Boston home. Really, Newton is my home. or where I grew up. I'm now in what's known as the Metro West area of Massachusetts. For people who live in Massachusetts, there are three distinct areas. There is Boston, which is the East Coast. Then there is a very wide area of what I've just mentioned, Metro West. Then there is Western Massachusetts, which for all intents and purposes should just be New York or Connecticut. I love you out there. If you're Massachusetts people and you live out there, I really do. I love the rural areas of Massachusetts so much better than the urban parts of Massachusetts. I don't even like going to Boston anymore. I would much rather be where I am. I want some trees, I want some grass, I want some fresh air, I want some good people, I want some smiles. That's all I really want, though. And maybe to swing a club every once in a while. And of course, we mean a golf club. So, that was the chair. And that was an exciting, auction. And satisfying auction. I think all parties were happy at the end of the transaction. So these clubs I picked up from this gentleman's lawn after his granddaughter had been putting them out. Down here I've got my old Atari 2600 console as I speak of vintage. That thing's going to go as well. And when it comes to golf clubs, for those of you out there who are novice collectors, there are many golf clubs that could be 20 years old that are collectibles, that are worth hundreds of dollars. If not, I haven't seen them at thousands of dollars, but I'm pretty sure there are at least a couple of vintage clubs that are worth thousands of dollars. This is not. The only reason I hold this is because it's an interesting looking club. It's one of those long putters. I believe you hold it like this and swing it like a pendulum, as you would any other putter, but it has about 1.5 feet, or at least a foot of extra handle to it. Now, where is she? This would have been a collector's club a couple of years back. This is Big Bertha Warbird. It's still worth probably $40 or $50 used. That's not any money to talk about, though. That's nothing to write home to mom about, right? But it's a damn good club. Now, I'm from the 80s, but my father was from the 20s. How can you say that, Jerry? Well, my father had me when he was 60 years old. He was born in 1913. So when he started playing golf, it would have been the late 20s. Well, let's say 1913, you're 10 years old at 23. At 33, you're 20 years old. So yeah, early teen years would have been 1930, end of the Depression, end of Prohibition era. Not year, but era. Oh, I think we should have a drink. So, and he was an avid golfer, my father. That's what I'm getting to. I lost my train of thought there. I remember swinging my father's bamboo golf clubs. Bamboo shafts. I called it a handle on that one. I couldn't come up with shaft. This is live, so I have to, fix it. Not in post, but live. Shaft. Bamboo shaft golf clubs, which would now be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars for collectors. These are all carbon fiber, I believe. Any driver would have a carbon fiber shaft, titanium heads. But growing up, my driver and my 3-wood and 5-wood were actually wooden heads. That's why they're called woods, because they were made out of wood. I'm completely guessing now, but probably from maybe the mid 30s or early 40s all the way up until the 90s, your driver, your 3 wood, your 5 wood, what else would you use? Maybe a 4, I don't know, would be made of wood instead of titanium. They had stainless steel, they had aluminum, they've tried everything, but titanium, which is a mix of aluminum, is the lightest and has the most positive reflex when you smack that ball down the fairway. So that's my Big Bertha. I'm not holding these here to show them off. These just happen to be here. I don't know what to do with them really. I've got a full set of clubs in the basement. I don't need to put these older clubs in. My set in the basement's better than these. This is what I'm saying. I have a couple of stores I can bring them by to sell them, and the drivers and these guys may sell for kitsch value. See this? This is a driver itself, which looks very strange because it's skinny like that, right? You're like, no, Jerry, that's a putter. No, this is a driver. It is a 18-degree Snake Eyes Quick Strike. I'm not sure if it's a 3 or it's not a 1 because it's not flat. But it will also fall into the category of your woods. Again, not wood, but the bigger headed golf clubs, which of course this one isn't because it's half the size of a normal driver. These Snake Eyes clubs were all the rage, I think, late 80s, early 90s maybe. I may be off a little bit with that, but somewhere in there. I have a secondary one right here. Okay, so this calls out that it's a 3 wood. I don't know if you can see that. The light might be messing you up, but up top there it says 3. Because it has more of a steep, I've got a ceiling above me, but it's all about this plane right here. Okay, how much of an angle it's at. You can see that that is at a pretty steep angle. So it's going to make the ball go up higher and then come down. Whereas your driver, pretty sure I have an actual driver here somewhere. Here we go. Your driver is almost flat. Can you see that? It's not perfectly flat, but your ball is going to go straighter or not up like this and down, but straighter, flatter. It's going to stay flatter, I should say. If you know how to handle that flat face when you drive the ball. Oh, I'm looking for a fail right now. I almost put that right through the microwave window. We're not trying to do that. Because the driver's face is so flat, if you twist it out even a little bit, you're going to slice. That's what a slice is called. If you twist it in just a little bit like that, it's going to hook. That's what a hook is called. So you need to keep it perfectly flat. So when it hits the ball, pow. And I'm leaning. This is a terrible golf swing. I should be like this. Pow. Almost good. That's why you keep your elbow straight. Pow. Straight like that. You can even tell on camera, I know. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see the screen of my phone that great. But I see that I've got 2/4 of me and the club. And that's all we're talking about right now. So let's keep it with that. I did gain a bunch of weight. Maybe you guys think I'm hiding my fat. I'm not hiding anything. I'm here. It's Jer. And I'm glad to be here with you guys. I may sign off at this point only because this was more of a trial to see if I could go live and to see if I have what it takes. If there are any comments, please let me know how you're feeling about me. I really look forward to starting up a continuous live stream because I want to talk to people. I love talking to people. I love communicating. So this is going to be an outlet for me. Hopefully you'll take it as an outlet for you. My name is Jeremiah Lee Mcgillicuddy, and my reputation is all I have. So let's all be on the up and up. Keep it clean. I'm 50 years old. We don't need all the childish stuff anymore. If you're a troll, you're just wasting your time because I won't acknowledge you. Other than that, all the good people that are out there, you guys have a great Sunday, okay? I mean that with everything I've got. And I will advertise, but I will call out when I'm going to do another live show, and we can talk more about collectibles, because I love anything vintage or nostalgic or that has a smell of must to it, because it's been stored in somebody's attic for the past 20 or 30 years. The older the better. The older the better. So let's talk shop soon, shall we? Until then, I love each and every one of you, and I mean that.